Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to set up a level in the game by finding some tile sets. So I'm going to do RPG itch.io dungeon tile sets. Let's do that. Let's see what we've got. I'm going to go for 3 because I'm not paying for anything. Okay, let's look at this one. Perfect. Download now. No thanks. Take me to the download. Download. You know the deal. It will download onto my computer. I then open up the folder. I'm then going to right click and I'm going to go to extract to dungeon tile set and copy and paste that into your game folder. So these are my tile sets for my game. Cool beans. So that looks good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to layouts, reset layouts. Yep. In my sprites, I'm going to put in our new tile set image. So I'm simply going to go to here. I'm going to drag it in to my sprites. So I've got my dungeon tile set for us to play about with in a bit. Layout, reset layouts. So back to this again. I'm now going to go to the room, our level. And I'm going to create a new tile layer. I'm going to call this, so I'm going to rename it, I'm going to call it dungeon. So what I'm going to do now is go to my sprite dungeon tile set, right click on it, create tile set. It's now asking me to select the sprite, so I'm going to select the dungeon tile sprite, and let's just shrink this for a second, and let's move it to the right. I hate doing this on this mouse. I need a laptop mouse. I think there's like a shortcut key I can use to drag. I just haven't worked that one out yet. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I can just double click at the top. Okay, so these tiles fit just in a 16 grid, 16 by 16. Just. Look what happens if I change it, like 14 by 14. Look at the white squares. We ideally want a square to fit the grid. So if I make it 18 by 18, it's not working. If we do 16 by 16 again, that just about works. We can see that the door is in 2 there. We see this part. Yeah, that works. So I'm happy with that. If I go back out of this, I go to dungeon, and I get this option, and now go select the tile set 1. And now I'm simply just going to paint in my floor. Let's add background walls. I have no idea what I'm doing with this one. I'm not very good at the making of levels, so to speak. I'm not very artistic. Feel free to speed this up. To delete, I need to just right click. So there we go. Oops. Don't worry about my character disappearing. We can fix that in a second. And let's just make this obvious that this is the bottom. Let's now okay. Let's see the window. Oops. Cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move my character, which is this instance here, above the dungeon. So now we see my character is in the game. My sprite, well, my object. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change where I want the character to be. So let's do 90 and let's do, if I do 140, perfect. Okay, what I'm also going to add to the dungeon is I want a box that we can't. There you go, perfect. So I'll play the game. Actually, there might be some errors because I've been doing some other stuff. Okay, cool. That's interesting. So my character at the moment is stuck here. There's a reason why. I'll just fix that now, off camera, and then I'll go back to camera. So here we go, got it working. Absolutely brilliant. What I'm going to make sure though is that we have it so that I won't ever go through the floor, and I also don't want to be going through these boxes here. So this is where we're going to add some collisions to it. This is going to stop me from going through the floor, which potentially could happen, and it's going to stop me from going through these boxes. So I'm going to go reset layout, yeah. I'm going to go to sprites. I'm going to create a new sprite. I'm going to make the sprite a see-through kind of blue color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use blue. I'm going to click on the blue square here. I'm going to change where it says alpha, which means we're going to try and make it see-through, but just enough so we can see it. I'm going to use the paint bucket, make it all blue. I'm done. Sprite 4 is made. So if I now go to my sprites folder, I've got sprite 4 there. I'm going to now right click and create a tile set. I'm going to select this brand new sprite, sprite 4. Yep, I'm happy with all of that. We're going to call the tile set collision. So I'll call it collision. So I'm going to close it down. So we've got a tile set. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to reset layout. I'm then going to go to the room. Double click. I'm then going to go to create new tile layer. I'm going to rename this to be collide. I'm now going to set the tile set on the right hand side. I'm going to make it collision. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint on which bits I want there to be solid. So I don't want them to go through the boxes. So I'm making that solid, that solid, that solid. I'm going to make the bottom all solid as well, like that. Once I've done that, look what I'm going to do now. I'm going to move the collide below the dungeon so it makes it invisible. If I hit play right now, I run the game, I can still run through it because we haven't told it to stop yet. But the blue is invisible. So what is it that we're going to do next? Well, I'm going to reset again the layout. I'm now going to go to Objects, My Player. And what I'd like you to do is I want you to add event, create. So pause the video, do that first. Pause the video now. Once you've done that, this is the code I would like you to put in. HSP, make it equal 0. VSP, make it equal 0. Tile map equals layer tile map, get ID, collide. This needs to be the same name in speech marks as our room. If I go to the room, collide layer here. Because we're going to be saying every time we come across collide, we don't want to go through it. That's basically what we're going to be trying to do. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Okay, I'm hoping you've done that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to step. I'm going to add some code to here. Previously, we've done all of this to make our character go right, to make our character go left, and to change it to idle when we're not doing anything. The first thing I want you to do, which is new, is at the top of the code, type in var bbox underscore side semicolon. Then you're going to do these 2 lines of code. So pause the video and copy that out. Key right, VK right, key left, VK left. The next thing we're going to do is horizontal speed. HSP stands for horizontal speed. And we're going to do a calculation here. This needs to match that in spelling. This needs to match that in spelling. Once you've done that, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. This bit is where you're probably going to make some mistakes. So you need to look at this very carefully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out slightly and I'm going to spread this out a bit more for you. This is the first line I would like you to enter. This is right at the bottom. And we're looking at horizontal speed. To pause the video, do it. Once you've done that, let me just make this bigger. Let's shrink this a bit. There you go. This is the next bit of code. Notice we've got all of this to write out. This, and then another bracket here. So you've got a bracket here, and you've got its pair bracket here. And finally, you're going to have this at the bottom. Look at the spelling for everything I've got. These are 2 lines. You find those 2 lines, shift, and it's next to the backspace on your keyboard. So if you've done all of that, if I hit run on my game, I'm going to run, but I can't go through those boxes. I can go that way off my screen, so I will have to change this slightly so that I can't go off the screen. So what I'm going to do is go back to my room, back to a dungeon. I'm then going to just put the collide in here. I'm going to make it look pretty, so I'm going to go to the dungeon layer and I'm going to put a wall here as well. Now I need to just set up my viewport because it looks really, really garbage. But actually, let's just leave that there for now so I can't go off the map. So what's the next thing that we need to do? Well, we just need to make it a bit smoother. So I want you to reset the layout. We're then going to go to our sprites. I'm going to go to my idle sprite to begin with. Double click on it. Now it opens up like this. I'm going to go to collision mask, which is on my left. I want to make this a bit thinner. So the collision mask is basically saying that wherever this square hits, it's going to stop. It's going to collide. I just want this to fit my character just like that. And here. So it just goes to the arm. There you go. So we're covering this whole body there. If I go to run, and we do a collision mask, and I zoom out, can you see how it's got all this dead space here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manual. I'm going to bring this in a bit more and leave a little bit of a gap there. So if I run it now, oh, I made that a little bit too thin. Now I just go through everything. So let's extend it slightly. Okay, so we've got it on the left, but on the right, when we flip it, we've got an issue. So let me just bring this out a little bit more. Play the game. Nope, we've still got an issue. So let me bring it out a bit more. I might have to change the idle one as well to make it a little bit. So the idle one might be okay to begin with. It is just about trial and error. I might also have to change the collisions. Okay, it seems to be fine going that way, but I'm going through on the right hand side. Alright, let's take it back to how it was originally for a second. Yeah. Let's look at the collision itself. Sorry, the sprite. Collision mask for the sprite. Yeah, that's fine. I think. Let's just zoom out. Yep, that's fine. It fits around there. So it is for run. Okay, let's shrink it a little bit more. A little bit more shrinking. Okay, so we're getting right next to it now. But what we can do I think that looks a lot better going left. Let me look into why. Okay, what I want you to do is go back to object 1, go back to step. Let's make this code bigger. And what we're going to do is make a change to make our game a bit smoother. So I'm sure yours has got the same issue as mine. If you don't have the same issue as mine, leave it as it is. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to delete. I'm going to highlight all of this what I'm deleting. That space. I'm going to replace it with this. So I'm just going to say start here. So this is the first thing you need to put in. That's the first thing. The second thing, we just get rid of this. Let me just make this a bit wider. Is all of this. Feel free to pause the video at any time and sort it out. So now, if I run the game, oh, it's still looking a bit laggy. Get out of GameMaker environment. Okay, it's made it a bit slower. Just a bit. That'll do for now.